The laughter struck her before the cake ever did, sharp and careless, echoing across the sunlit reception hall like glass breaking on marble. It came from behind her, then beside her, then everywhere at once, as if the room itself had decided she did not belong. Mara felt it in her chest first, a tight, suffocating knot that made her fingers tremble as they rested on the white tablecloth. She had dressed carefully that morning, smoothing the lavender fabric over her curves, telling herself this was just another day she would survive. But as the bridesmaids' eyes widened and mouths twisted, as a groomsman bent forward pretending to cough while hiding a smirk, the truth crashed into her all at once. She was the spectacle, the joke, the overweight girl at someone else's perfect wedding. The venue was bright with late morning light, glass walls letting the sun spill across rows of white chairs and hanging strands of warm bulbs. Outside, spring leaves shimmered in the breeze, indifferent to the cruelty blooming indoors. Mara sat alone at a small round table near the aisle, a placement she had accepted without complaint, telling herself it was practical, that she liked watching people. In reality, she had learned long ago to make herself smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. Growing up, she had been the girl teachers worried about during gym class, the one relatives pinched at weddings and whispered about diets over dinner. Years of pretending not to hear had carved deep grooves into her confidence, and today those grooves filled quickly with shame. Her backstory was written into her posture, the way her shoulders curved inward as if protecting something fragile. Mara had lost her mother at 17 and her father soon after to silence and distance, leaving her to raise herself on part-time jobs and unreturned kindness. Food had become comfort, then armor, then a visible target. Still, she had said yes when her cousin invited her to the wedding. She believed in showing up, even when it hurt. She believed in family, even when family forgot to be kind. The laughter grew louder when someone knocked over a chair near her table, the scrape drawing attention like a spotlight. A bridesmaid covered her mouth, eyes darting to others as if seeking permission to react, then let out a short, shocked sound that wasn't quite a gasp. Mara's face burned. Her throat closed. She stared at the small vase of white flowers in front of her, counting petals to keep from crying. She told herself not to ruin the day. She told herself she deserved this for daring to wear lace, for daring to sit where people could see her. If this moment already hurts you, if you believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, the viewers of Broken Smill are asked to like, comment, share, and subscribe right now, because stories like this only live on when hearts choose to care. At the far end of the hall, a man paused mid-step. Jonah Hale had come to the wedding because his sister insisted, because she said he needed to be around people again. He stood out without trying to, worn boots, a dark flannel jacket over a plain shirt, the quiet posture of someone who had learned to stay alert. Jonah was a single father of an 8-year-old boy, a man who measured his days in school lunches packed and bedtime stories read with one eye open. 2 years earlier, he had buried his wife under a sky just as bright as today's, promising their son he would be enough. Since then, life had taught him how quickly joy could fracture, how cruelty often hid behind smiles. Jonah had learned to read rooms the way other people read books. He saw the shift ripple across the guests, the way attention angled toward one table, the way laughter sharpened instead of softened. He followed it and found Mara, shoulders hunched, eyes fixed on the table as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. Something in her stillness mirrored something in him, the memory of standing at the grocery store with his son while strangers stared, whispering about the tired man with a crying child. He remembered how invisible pain could feel, how loud. The test of his character arrived quietly, in the space between one breath and the next. Jonah could have looked away. He could have told himself it wasn't his place, that weddings were complicated, that people were careless. Instead, he felt the familiar pull of responsibility, the same force that made him wake before dawn and keep going when grief weighed him down. He walked forward, each step steady, the chatter around him thinning into a dull hum. Mara sensed movement beside her and flinched, bracing for another look, another joke. But what she felt instead was the subtle shift of air as Jonah pulled out the chair across from her and sat down without hesitation. He placed his hands on the table, grounding himself, grounding the moment. The laughter faltered. Eyes turned. Jonah didn't look at the people watching, he looked at Mara, really looked, seeing the fear behind her calm, the resilience etched into her face. The room held its breath. Jonah leaned back slightly, his presence unmissable now, and let the silence do the work. He wasn't angry in the way people expected, he was disappointed, a quiet, heavy disappointment that settled over the guests like a shadow. He scanned the hall, meeting gazes one by one, unblinking. In his mind, he saw his son's face, the way small cruelties could become lifelong scars if left unanswered. Mara's emotions churned violently, confusion tangling with gratitude she didn't yet trust. No one had ever chosen to sit with her in the middle of mockery. No one had ever made the room stop for her. Tears threatened, but she swallowed them, unwilling to let this stranger see her break. She focused on the sunlight catching dust motes in the air, the faint scent of flowers and coffee, grounding herself in the present. As minutes passed, the energy shifted. The bridesmaid who had laughed first lowered her eyes. The groomsman straightened, color creeping into his cheeks. Conversations restarted, quieter now, different. Jonah stayed seated, offering his presence like a shield. He told himself he wasn't rescuing her, he was simply refusing to allow harm to continue. It was a lesson he hoped his son would one day learn without words. Outside, the breeze stirred the leaves, and a child's laughter drifted faintly from the parking lot. Jonah glanced toward the doors, thinking of his son waiting with a sitter, of the world he wanted to shape for him. He turned back to Mara, nodding once, a small gesture that said she wasn't alone. Something inside her loosened, a knot she hadn't realized she carried beginning to untie. The wedding moved forward, the ceremony beginning with music that floated through the hall. Mara stayed seated, Jonah beside her, and for the first time that day she allowed herself to breathe fully. Her life had been a series of endured moments, but this one was different. This one held possibility. She thought of her mother, of how she used to say kindness was a choice people made every day. Today, someone had chosen her. Time stretched, then folded. Plates were cleared. Apologies came in awkward glances and half-smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes. Mara didn't forgive them immediately, but she felt lighter knowing the laughter had lost its power. Jonah eventually stood, giving her space again, but not before offering a final, reassuring look that stayed with her long after he walked away. Near the end of the celebration, as sunlight softened into afternoon gold, the weight of what had happened settled over Mara like a warm blanket. She realized that being seen didn't have to hurt. That dignity could be reclaimed. That one act of courage could ripple outward in ways unseen. If this story has touched your heart so far, if you feel the quiet strength of compassion changing a moment, the viewers of Broken Smill are asked once more to support this story, because every share helps kindness travel further. Before the final moments unfold, take a second to comment below and tell us what this moment meant to you. Mara watched the last guests drift away, chairs stacked, laughter now gentle and genuine. She stepped outside into the daylight, feeling taller than she had that morning. Somewhere across the lot, Jonah lifted his son into his arms, the boy's laughter bright and free. Their eyes met briefly, and in that shared glance was an understanding deeper than words. Life was hard, but people could make it softer for each other. As the sun dipped and the day closed, Mara walked to her car carrying something new inside her, a quiet certainty that she deserved respect, that she deserved joy, and that sometimes, when cruelty rises, a single brave soul is enough to remind the world how to be human.